The NHL trade deadline has come and gone, and plenty of faces in new places. You've seen some of it. The biggest talking point.
Winners for me, I'm saying Patrick Kane for getting his way to New York.
I'm not betting Gord on the field against the field, but I think there'll be winners when the cup is raised.
The NHL trade deadline. It implies the last point during the season at which players can be traded from one club to another and still play in the playoffs. Trading away your first-round draft pick at the deadline usually implies that you are planning on going all in for a deep playoff run. We've seen this happen way too many times and seen it fail time and time again. We've seen this past season that you don't need to make a big splash on the deadline to win the Stanley Cup. But what if I told you, since the beginning of the salary cap era, there were 4 trades coming into the deadline where a team traded away their first-round picks and it actually helped the team win it all? Now, they may not be the sole reason the team won, but if the team sacrifices that much, it usually means that the players they will receive are valuable to the team and can be the one to take you over the top.
A big story, though, breaking in LA in the last hour, and that is the firing. Terry Murray dismissed from his position. The Kings, 12th in the Western Conference.
In the 2011-2012 season, the Los Angeles Kings were struggling to stay afloat in the playoffs. They were a subpar team at a little bit above 500. Their offense was loaded with talented players, but they were unable to find any consistency scoring goals. Coming into the trade deadline, the Kings were in the mix of either missing the playoffs or just barely making it. They would decide to take the gamble and trade away their first-round pick. It goes as follows. On February 23rd, the Columbus Blue Jackets traded Jeff Carter to the Los Angeles Kings for a conditional first-round pick and Jack Johnson. Interestingly enough, the team would begin to go on a winning stretch, going 13-5-3, just enough for them to slip in the playoffs as the 8th seed. And you know the story. The LA Kings will go on to win the Stanley Cup as a Cinderella team. Though everyone tends to agree that Jonathan Quick was the clear MVP, the gamble to acquire Jeff Carter would solidify their offense in the playoffs, where he would score 8 goals and 13 points, tying the team with goals scored by an LA King.
The Columbus Blue Jackets have advanced in the Stanley Cup playoffs. A 4-game sweep.
In 2020, after a year where the Tampa Bay Lightning would be swept embarrassingly by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round of the playoffs, they would come back with fire in their eyes.
Out of the reach of Gavrikov in front, points along, he's gone! Brayden Point has won the series for the Lightning! John Cooper in Tampa Bay moving on in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
They would end up not only winning against the team that swept them the year before, but they would also go on to get back-to-back Stanley Cups and making 3 Stanley Cup Finals appearances in a row. So how did they do it? Not only did they already have 3 to 4 future Hall of Famers, but they were able to do so by acquiring depth players on their team. In 2020, the Tampa Bay Lightning had 2 first-round picks. They would decide to trade both of these picks at the deadline, and it goes as follows. The San Jose Sharks traded Barclay Goodrow and the 2020 third-round pick to the Tampa Bay Lightning for a 2020 first-round pick and Anthony Greco. The second trade would be the New Jersey Devils trade Blake Coleman to the Tampa Bay Lightning for a 2020 first-round pick and Nolan Foote. Heavy prices to pay, but the players acquired by Tampa would end up lifting the Stanley Cup in 2020. Oh no, we're not done yet. Then, in 2021, they did it again. The Columbus Blue Jackets trade David Savard to the Tampa Bay Lightning for a 2021 first-round pick and a 2022 third-round pick. With the Detroit Red Wings' assistance as a broker to reduce salary, a huge price to pay for a deft defenseman who would go pointless in 14 games with the Lightning. But it worked. He would end up scoring 5 points in the playoffs and lifting the Stanley Cup. The Lightning would attempt to do this again in 2022 and in 2023, but both times have failed. But that isn't the point. The point is that these 4 trades mentioned before were those rare instances when the team took a huge gamble trading away their first-round draft picks at or near the deadline and having it succeed. Will it happen again? Not likely, as it takes more than just utilizing trades before the deadline to acquire players, but it does prove that it can work. Who will be the next team to take a huge gamble for it to pay off? Only time will tell.